Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of the 1 Point Safety Show with me, Scott, and Scouse Andy. Well, we're going to recap today the 2020 tie with the New York Giants. So, yeah, how do you feel after a tie? Really difficult, that one, Scouse, isn't it?
It is, but obviously for us UK lot, we're used to draws if you're a football fan. So, or soccer fan, if you want to call it soccer for the American dudes who listen. Um, yeah, so we're used to these kind of things. So it's not as strange as a strange feeling as it would be for a Yank, shall we call it? But yeah, still is a little weird.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. So, short and sweet podcast again. And thanks very much for everyone who has listened to this or has subscribed. We had our highest following yet on the last episode. So, thanks very much. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and like a comment, put comments in the YouTube or any suggestions you've got. You can catch us on Twitter at the end of the pod or in our outro. Our details are in there. So we're going to go through the game recap then, really, first of all, in our first segment. So, Scouse, what were your thoughts on the 2020 tie?
As a game, I mean, it was a great game for the neutral. It was definitely old school NFC East football. Hard smash mouth football, win it in the trenches, run the ball first. Pass very little, shall we call it, for both teams. So it was it was nice to see that old school type of football again. To be fair, and it's really nice to see us actually playing what you call meaningful football in December, because we're usually out of the race by now. We're normally long gone, dead, all the rest of it. And yeah, it's nice. It's nice to actually be still in the mix a little bit, keep us excited.
Yeah, I thought it was two middling sides who really cancelled each other out. You know, we both knew that prior to the game when we discussed it on our last pod, that this was going to be one of them games where it was smash mouth football, run the ball, and a lot of Daniel Jones's feet, which came to fruition. And it was just one of them days where at one stage I thought we're in this, you know, especially after being 10-0 up. I thought, yeah, great start. We can capitalize on this and, move on, move forward with the game. But it just seemed that we just got bogged down, in a 2 minutes 40, in just over 4 minutes. Sorry, they pegged back us for 10 points. And you just think, where's this going to end up now?
Oh, it was mistakes, wasn't it? Let's face it.
Yeah.
If you're going to break it down a bit more,
Mm-hmm.
missed field goal from Joey. But again, that was our fault originally. I know we
Yeah.
can say, 52-yarder, you made
Plus
58
50.
last week, etc. Those are missable. 52-yarders are missable easily. So, I'm not blaming him, even though that is his job to make those kicks. But for us, it was more about the penalties for me. When you watch it live, you see some of these phantom calls that the referees were doing was just insane. Like genuinely, the Thomas block in the back,
Oh,
nothing at all on there. They did a ridiculous hold on John Allen in one of the plays. I can't remember where it was now. It was definitely like first half, and the referee didn't do anything at all. He wrapped around his bloody waist and threw him to the floor. Like how? How was that
yeah, there
not
was a
being
lot of
called? There's so many dodgy
it
decisions. I
was
mean,
a
I'm not
lot of
blaming the refs
questionable
in
calls.
general. I mean, normally you blame referees. Yeah, we lost,
Mm-hmm.
blah blah blah. But when you look back at the tape again, you look at it second time or third time, whatever chance you get, you just see these ridiculous calls, and they are ridiculous calls. It isn't just heat the moment. Oh, it's ridiculous. No, they actually were really bad decisions. Uh, yeah,
I agree with you. I
so
mean,
annoying, man. So annoying.
sometimes you got to say that you get some calls in some games where you get the rub of the green, and this is one where we just didn't get the rub of the green at all.
Hey, what
You
about that
could
Terry one though? What about that Terry one?
unreal. Yeah, I
What's
mean,
that about? The judge gave it. The line judge
yeah.
gave it, and then decided to be talked out of it by some dude about 50 yards away on the other side of the field. What's that
Exactly.
about?
I think that actually came from New York, that call, even though we were in New York, but you know what I mean by that. I think it came from the
Ridiculous is what it
almost like
was.
what we would call VAR. I think that's where that would come from,
Oh,
that call.
ridiculous.
There was a few others as well. I mean, the Montez Sweat one where Bellinger just like almost, hanging on him like Superman cape. That was stupid. And then having Sadiq Charles's helmet just thrown like literally off his face. and it wasn't even called at all. And you just think, hang on a minute, there's a helmet 10 yards further back than the play.
And you think there's
what's
no
going
hands to
on?
the face there. There's no hands to the face. No. Yeah. Cheers, refs.
And then you had the offensive. The other one that was really big that cost us quite dearly was the offensive pass interference that wasn't called against the new.
Oh, is that for Slayton? Is it?
Yeah,
Slayton,
on the Slayton 55-yarder on Holmes, Christian Holmes. That's what I couldn't remember his surname.
Yeah, it was a bit harsh. I mean, to be fair, I mean there was 100% a push off, and Holmes was even calling for from the line judge, who was literally 5 yards away on the touchline.
You just have to finish the play, though. You just can't give up on the play halfway through, and I think that's why
when you get pushed off, when you get pushed and you're 3 or 4 yards back, and the ball's there in the guy's hands, what else are you going to do?
I know.
About it. There's nothing else you can finish because the play's over. Do you know what I mean? Because you're the guy, the safety came across and touched them down. So it was like, well, yeah. I mean, if I'm Holmes, I'm probably doing the same thing, kicking off. But why wasn't that a push off type thing? But yeah, man, they weren't helpful at all. The referees today.
No, and do you think though? Do you think this now makes our chances harder of getting in the playoffs, or do you think having this bye now and seeing New York going to Philly, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and then having us play again at our place, do you think that's a distinct advantage to us, or do you think it makes our chances better at getting into the playoffs and cementing a place, or do you think we've gone worse?
Oh no, it's massive. It's definitely. I mean, I'm always with some of my things I do say you might think I'm quite a negative guy, but in general, with that tie, that actually gives us it's better than a loss. Okay, it's not a win, but it's better than a loss. And when you're coming down to the playoff hunt, and you're looking at kind of that wild card slot, I mean, let's face it, right? We're fighting it with the Giants, and we're fighting it with 49ers or Seattle, depending on who finishes second in their division, right? So they're the guys, and maybe Detroit, if you think they might get back into it because they're pretty close as well. But realistically, I think it's between those three. Personally, who's going to get those 2 wild card spots?
Yeah, I think I saw a stat. I think I saw a stat earlier, and it was saying that we have just over a 68% chance of making it now. Yet New York's chances are down to in the 50s, so they're like 55.
It's in our hands. It's in our hands, and that's all you can ask for this time of the year. Because think about it, right? Because of the tie. For example, say we end up with 10-7. Oh no, 10. It'll be 10-6-1, wouldn't it? Yeah. But if we had think about it, if we had 10 wins and Seattle finished second in their division and they had 10 wins, we go through because we've got 1 less loss.
Yeah.
End of story. So if we get the same amount of whoever's in the second place in the other division, so we get exactly the same amount of wins, we've got the tiebreaker. Where if we lost on Sunday, what would have happened would have been, obviously, the Giants have had a tiebreaker on us. Detroit would have had a tiebreaker on us because Detroit beat us early on in the season. You know, all those types of things have been happening. So the draw actually was quite beneficial. I mean, if you cut, like in old football terms for us, if you can't win it, don't lose it. And that's exactly what. And I think you might not feel like it's going to be useful or whatever. I think that tie could be the difference that gets us in. So for me, yeah, definitely, I think a 60% chance is reasonable. I agree with that. We got some tough games, you know, but as you say, we've got the bye week. We've got a full 2 weeks to prepare. We just played the Giants, so we've already got a lot of kind of information and scouting on them already. And then obviously making the changes that we're going to need to make the changes to for the second game, and we're at home as well. So I think, yeah, I'm happy with where we're at. To be fair, even though we didn't win, and there's a lot of poor play in that game, but we still have a chance, and that's all.
Doesn't it just feel weird though, being in this position? You're like, well, we still got a chance, and you know, and you're not like scraping in with a below 500 record. It's just, it is good. Nice, it is nice. You're right.
And it's good for the NFL that the NFC East is actually the powerhouse league.
It is division.
You know, it used to be like that, as we all know, 90s and, you know, late 90s, in the 80s, obviously, too. That was the powerhouse league. It didn't matter. That was all what the main focus of the NFL was on, was that division. So
I'll tell you one thing I'm not happy with.
For a while, but Yeah.
I'm not happy with it being flexed on a Sunday night. That's
No, I'm fuming with that one. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I was hoping for the Saturday night game.
Yeah,
but,
I was too. But so for anyone listening or watching that is not in the UK, and if you are a UK Commanders fan, you'll understand this was now moving to 8:20 means for us it's a 01:20 kickoff on Monday morning. So yeah, not the most ideal scenario.
Yeah.
Well, you the last game against Philly, which was a Monday night football, you stayed right the way through and went to work. So yeah, fair play to you for that one.
Yeah, it wasn't nice. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I was still buzzing because we won. I mean, but those things are the worst things if you lose, and then you got to go in next day and you're like, oh, heads down, pissed off, lost the game, ridiculously tired, and all these other guys just giving you grief because of, I've got a few people who I work with who are NFL fans, not
so do I.
Washington, but even if they're not even our division, but they still pick on you. Do you know what I mean? If you lose, like you can shit. Yeah, cheers, mate. Yeah.
And that's been the case for a lot of years.
Yeah, for decades, bro.
So yeah, we're there now. Yeah. But that moves us on really quite sweetly and nicely onto our next segment, which is our regular segment, which is what we call a splash or gash. So we'll go straight away first to you then, Scouse. Who was a splash for you on offense, on the offensive side of the ball?
On the offense, it's always the usual people, isn't it? Every week nearly is the same dudes. There's no one that's really shining that we don't really talk about. I mean, I'm going to say Jahan just purely because we've not spoke about him for quite a while, and obviously that spin move was just ridiculous, bro. I mean, that was just an unbelievable play.
Just looked like a cheat code from Madden, didn't it?
Yeah, it was beautiful, and the fact we're rookie just destroying 3 defensive backs there. It was just one spin move, brilliant, loved it. The guy's got it all, man. He's got the route running. He's quick. Okay, he doesn't have the height, but everything else he's got. He's got the hands. Yeah, he's going to be a quality receiver going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think we have to give another one splash to Terry. 105
Terry does
yards.
What Terry does.
He does. 105 yards, 1 TD. He's 8 receptions. Very good performance again from Terry, doing exactly what he does. Another 100-yard game to add to the stats to prove that he is without doubt in the top 10 receivers within the NFL. I'm so pleased that we got him tied up and contract sorted.
If people ever want to go on about kind of who's the best wide receiver in the NFC, or because there is some very good wide receiver ones in our division. There is, AJ Brown's quality. Giants don't have one, they're crap. But
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb, yes, CeeDee Lamb's quality as well. Terry is, I think, the better receiver of all of them. However, what goes against Terry is he doesn't get many touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's his biggest gripe, because I think the best he's ever done is 7 touchdowns in a season, which isn't great for a wide receiver one, really. I mean, I think AJ Brown's already got 9 or something already. So it's,
I think contestable catches wise, I don't think there's anyone questioning.
I think he's number 1.
I think so too.
I think his stats have proven that over the years, that contested catches, he is like number 1 in the league. So we can't argue with the quality of the receiver. We just need to get him scheming open more. Do you know what I mean? So I understand a lot of times we use him as a decoy when we do, because obviously he's normally getting 2 guys on him, especially in the red zone. He's getting 2, maybe 3 guys on him. We were trying to mark him in the red zone. So that's why we were normally pretty poor in the red zone. We noticed our conversion rates aren't very good.
I think we can come to that in a minute, but yeah.
So it's kind of like,
Anyone else stand out for you then on the day? On the offensive side of the ball?
On the offense? I mean, it's a tough one, man, because you can say B-Rob, of course. He's doing this thing.
But I do have a bone to pick with B-Rob. I mean, his stats, I'm looking at his stats now. He's 21 carries, 96 yards, almost at that 100-yard game again. But it was the way he went.
The toe, man.
It was almost 5 yards a toe, 4.9, I think he was at. Yeah. So when you look at it was the play where he went out of bounds.
Oh yeah, where he could have went a bit more.
And it was a clear touchdown. Yeah. It was a clear touchdown to run the sideline.
Well, there was 2 dudes on the sideline as well. I mean, he might have ran through one. I don't think he would have got a touchdown personally if he carried on. But I do think he could have got more yards, definitely. I think that was definitely I don't know about touchdown, though. I'm not sure.
I'd have to look back at that on the All-22 and have a good scout and see what's going on.
Because why would someone like B-Rob run out of out of bounds.
I just think his momentum
wasn't.
took him out, and he thought that he had already had a toe over the line. You know, who knows?
I don't know.
Again, he's a rookie. He's been in the team for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Come on, and the dude's still not 100%. So, got to give him his props there as well. So
I can't wait to see him next season.
He's going to be ridiculous.
A full year of being fully rehabbed, fully back to 100%. Oh mate,
he's going to be ridiculous.
Tear shit up, bro. He's going to tear it up.
So what about the defensive side of the ball then, Scouse? What we saying on there? Who's splashed for you?
I've got to give a shout out to Danny Johnson. When Holmes obviously started at corner, and he got burned a lot. They were targeting him all kind of first quarter, some of the second quarter as well until we changed it up. And Danny Johnson came in, and he started to go away from targeting Danny Johnson because
I noticed he almost got a pick as well. You know,
and he got a sack as well.
He just went through, and he got a sack. Yeah,
I mean, this is away from the corner, so no, I can't argue with what Danny Johnson did at all that game. Really, he didn't get burned at all. He kept it solid. That's all you can ask for, really. So yeah, splash for him.
Splash for me, then I'm going to go with Daron Payne. 2 sacks on the day. Now
again, it's like a Terry thing, isn't it?
Is it 8? What's it? 8.5 now?
Every game.
Is he 8.5 sacks now? Yeah. Wow. I mean, the dude's just balling. Just pay him whatever he wants to be paid if he wants to stay. I know we've had this discussion before where
if he wants to stay.
You don't think you think he's playing really, really well in the contract year because he wants to go. Yeah, I know.
As I say, the worst case scenario for him is that he's going to get tagged. That's the worst case scenario for him. Mm-hmm. He's going to get 18 million for that. So
18.6. Yeah, we've talked about
cheers,
that.
Mate. Cheers. I'll stay for 18 mil. This year was, I think, what was it? This year, this finally it was rookie year, wasn't it? His rookie deal.
Yeah, this is it now.
50 options, about 8 million, 10 million, I think it is for this 50 option. I can't remember. I think it's around that time when you do the 50 option, which is on this year. You get paid a lot more than your rookie deal. So
I've got to give another shout out to Jonathan Allen as well. Obviously, you know what I mean. The way he's playing. The guy's our interior line is amazing. It's definitely the best 2 tandem in the entire league by miles. And I've heard other people talk about Chris Jones, talk about other players around the Quinton Williams, I think as well, around the NFL, and they're saying, well, these guys are playing at an all pro level, but I think our 2 are outstanding this year, and they've really took to it, and they're thriving in that interior line, and it makes a massive difference.
I mean, we have to. I think personally, if they want the national recognition, they have to go out on Sunday and smoke the Giants, and play all pro level then as well. I mean, we did it against Philly. They've got to keep doing it, and the chances they get on national stage. If they don't, they're not going to get the respect because, as you know, if you play for us, it's like you've been blacklisted from the NFL. Really. No, so that's why most guys don't want to come here. They don't get the recognition nationally, even if they're having a quality season.
Yeah.
So like John, of course, John Allen wants to be all pro, and Daron Payne want to be that, and Cam Curl want to be all that. But you've got to do it on the biggest stages of them all, and you've got to win playoff games as well. You've got to get at least one playoff win. Personally, if they want to be all pros, I think you've got to get at least one playoff win.
I agree with that. Anyone else for you then at all for a splash, or are we just about done on that and we can move on to the gash? I haven't got anyone else, so
yeah.
Hat tip to Cam Curl, maybe?
Wasn't it? It was mid, wasn't it, really? There wasn't ridiculously bad play. There was some bits, but not all really awful. But then there wasn't amazing either. So it's kind of hard, that one, really.
Yeah, I think so too. I think out of the people we've mentioned, I can't really give much else to anyone else. Yeah. So go on then. Let's start us off then. Who are you going with a gash? Either offense, defense, or coaching, if you want to use that. Well, notice what I did there. If you listen regularly, you'll know where I was going with that leading question.
No, but I'm going to save that one for a bit later. But to be fair, for me, it's kind of, when you're looking at gashes, it's still the offensive line. It really is, bro. I mean, this time around, we actually got punished for having bad O-line play. The only good plays that you see from like when Heineke does things in bits and pieces and a good run here and there is the offensive line actually produced, actually did a good play at that time, a good snap, but they weren't consistent at all in any way. And I was looking through. I listened to Tim Sports talk. And watch him and watch his breakdowns of, and especially he's big into the line play and stuff like that. And you see him break it down, and it's like, man, it's the way they've been coached. That's the problem. Normally if you're a guard or interior lineman, you normally kind of hit the first block. If instead of double teaming somebody, you would normally go hit the first block. Is he sealed? Yes, I'm going to the next level. That's what the next guy is. If you're open, if you're free, you haven't got to block a person on you. That's the idea. Hit the second level, hit the linebacker, etc., create that run lane. Yeah, that's the idea in the run, especially in the run game. Our guys don't do that, but they do. They just continue to just double team the middle defensive tackle.
It's almost like they're playing contain, isn't it?
What is that?
It's almost like they're just playing constant contain, which are just.
But why are you double teaming a singular defensive tackle in the middle? So you can see you got Larson on him. Why is Cosby coming over and hitting them as well at the same time? Cosby's should be going. Okay, there's no rusher here. I should be going to the next level and hit somebody else. That should be his first thought. And Cosby did do a little bit of that actually, but Norwell doesn't do that. No. Turner doesn't do that. No, they don't. They just. And I think it must be the way they're being coached, because these guys have played the game for years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've got to look, and they're both. They've both been all pros before themselves. You know, when you mentioned Turner and Norwell, they're both.
These guys should know, rather than double teaming a guy who's never going to get there.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you. So
it's not like the double team and John Allen. It's not like the double team and Devon Payne. No, these guys are only decent. You know what I mean? Good.
Well, Kayvon Thibodeau is very, very good. I'll give him his due as an edge rusher.
He's an edge guy. He's not a speaker. I'm going to speak about that in a bit. But I think when you're looking at the kind of interior side of it, why are we double teaming like guys who just aren't that good? It doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm going to give a specific gash this week, Andy, to Charles Leno Jr. I like the guy. I really, really like the guy. He's had a really good season. It was very, very good for us last season as well. But I mean, you can actually hear it on the commentary when you watch it back. To shout back at your quarterback, "Watch out!" I mean, what is going on? And it wasn't. When I look back at that play, it actually wasn't his fault. He went upwards for the block instead of coming. It
was a protection problem. That was the problem with that one.
And it was probably 2 plays after it was 2 plays after the new centre had come in, Nick Martin.
Yeah, so it was Martin's fault. Martin sent him to come in. So you do like little taps on each other.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
tap on the shoulder or whatever. So to know that I've got to come in, I've got to be more narrow rather than like pushing out, etc. Because he feels like he's going to get double teamed, stuff like that. You know, it's all little things. But you can't leave Thibodeau on his own.
Especially when you're on your own 5 meter line or 5 yard line.
What is that? You're lucky there that we didn't have some sort of all-pro edge rusher. If that was Micah Parsons, for example, he would have smashed Heineke so hard that ball would have been a safety at least.
Yeah, I was thinking it was going to be a safety.
But Thibodeau just hit him a little bit, because he didn't want to get called for a penalty and whatever. So just kind of give him a little bit of a nudge in the back, and even flying to the floor. But at least he kept hold of the ball. That was the difference. A better, more NFL polished pass rusher there, open, unblocked on the blind side. That all day, that is a fumble every time. So we got away with one there. Heineke didn't. He felt that one, but in general, we got away with that. And the thing is, man, the tight ends, the tight ends.
I was about to mention them
in pass pro. It's fucking shocking, bro. They were so bad. Like, what he's doing.
They just turned into a blocking unit.
It was like, you even to be blocking this dude?
They just literally turned into a blocking unit. It wasn't anything to do with receiving at all. They were nowhere to be seen in the receiving game whatsoever.
They were nowhere to be seen in the block. In the pass pro either.
The whole unit just had a really, really bad day. So that's 2 units then we're giving an absolute gash to. So we're not having much really from the rest of the team on offense. I mean, we've said that the wide receiving core did very well. What were your thoughts on Taylor Heineke then on the day? Obviously, if you look directly at his stats, you'd think 2 TDs, 275. That's a decent day, that. But for me,
that is something that I would normally look for. You look at that kind of as a solid game, wouldn't you? If you haven't watched the game, just look at the stats and you go, oh yeah, 275, 2 TDs, no wins. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, that's not a bad game, that. But then obviously you start seeing the problems. Now the problems. I mean, yeah, we always know if Taylor can't set his feet, he's going to sail the ball. That's what he does. He's kind of lost some of his touch passes that he had last season because I think he's been concentrating so much on getting more power into his actual throw, and that's why like certain passes he was sailing over like Thomas's head when it was a nice little touch pass that I needed, and he just didn't have it. He just sailed over him. It's just things like that. It's just little things. But it makes a big difference in these games, especially when you play like we do. We're not a team who scores 40 points a game.
And I think that's the difference.
Mistakes. That's the problem, you see.
I think that's the difference between having a starting regular quarterback and being a very good backup quarterback. I think them little nuances, them little mistakes that you just can't seem to either coach out or natural tendencies are the difference between whether you start week in, week out or not.
I mean, and
also, we don't really have an option now. So
you're sticking with him. You're sticking.
Yeah, I was going to say you're sticking with him. You're letting it ride.
We're not changing that anytime soon. And to be fair, mate, as I mentioned before, the O-line, they are trying to get him killed. I think. I don't know what's going on. I mean, we did not pick up the blitz at all that well in any way, really.
And do you think that's down to Wink Martindale's calls, or do you think that's down to us?
I mean, don't get me wrong. They do exotic blitzes and different looks and all that, which can confuse you. Yeah, sure. So and that's obviously good play from them. So you don't mind them ones, but we played better with Taylor when we go up tempo. Why? Because one, that's all he ran in ODU. That's all he did. It was up tempo game. He never played 7-step drops. He never played waiting to the last second of a play clock. He always did 2-minute offense. So he's very comfortable with 2-minute offense.
Yeah.
He should play a lot more of that in the game rather than just the last 2 minutes of games. Speed it up, slow it down, speed it up, because what that allowed us as well is that they could not get the defensive backs or whoever they wanted to substitute. They couldn't swap them. So they were getting tired. The Giants, they were getting tired, and that's the reason why we got down there in the fourth quarter and we got a TD then.
I agree with you completely. So that moves us on nicely to my favourite segment, obviously, always. It's hotter than chip fat on a Friday night if you're out in Newcastle. It is indeed Scouse's Sizzle.
Well, this week, I mean, I've kind of mentioned quite a few already, but I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm always a broken record, man, but, Turner's got to take some responsibility. Matsko's got to take some responsibility because these guys are being coached, I think, poorly. I think wrongly in ways. So a lot of times I always blame the guards are shite and, but if it's been taught that way, they're going to do it that way. Do you see what I mean? So if they're making mistakes, it's on the coaches because they're doing what the coach is asking them to do. All right. So, and you see it quite often. You see it all the time, man. The center and the guard are always double teaming that first dude, no matter who it is. Every game, I just started like clicking onto it this past couple of weeks, and it's not a good style. Do you know what I mean? To try and get through. That's why our rushing lane's always getting blocked. So, Matsko, sort it out, man. Turner, you've got to let Taylor run a lot more.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Stop making him a pocket passer. I keep saying it every week. Stop making him a pocket passer. He's not good enough for that role.
Well, that's what we've seen with Taylor is when he's on his game, that's what he does. He's outside the pocket. He's making plays on the hoof.
I mean, look at that fourth down, the fourth and four.
Unbelievable.
That's a Mahomes type throw.
Of course it is.
That's a Mahomes type throw.
But the thing is, if Mahomes did that, it'd be on national TV. Everywhere.
Oh, of course it would. Oh, yeah, you're not going to get that if you're Taylor Heineke, and working for us. Now, if he was working for Dallas, yeah, they'd be on TV all day because they're America's team. We them boys. Fuck off. So those guys. I mean, so Turner's got to sort himself out, bro. I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of saying the same stuff. But it's like he's not listening to anybody. I mean, I understand he's got to listen to me, but in general, surely some guys must be seeing it. Going, look, mate. If the novice here can see these problems and you're not addressing any of it over the past 14, 15 weeks, what's going on, bro? Questions have got to be asked, man.
They have to. You're right.
I
Questions
can't wait.
do
I
need to be
hope to
asked.
God that someone takes him as the head coach next year, because people talking about him as a head coach next year. I'm like, I'll fucking drive you there now, bro. Fucking get me out. Get him out of this team, man. Get him out of this fucking club, the whole franchise. Get him gone.
Scouse sizzle. Oh, you've killed me with that one. You've killed me with that one. You'll pay his taxi fare. I love it. I absolutely love it.
I'll drive him there. I'll drive him there myself.
Oh, brilliant.
Pay a taxi fare.
So we're going to move on then, because we haven't got a game to preview next week. So we'll still come on and we'll still do you another pod, and we'll talk about the injuries, and we'll talk maybe more about, maybe we'll do a mid-year review. I think we're hopeful to try and get a round table with the NFC East boys from the UK on. I have reached out to them, and hopefully we can get something sorted within the next week or two. But we're going to move on to what is our game of the week. And our game of the week this week is the Philadelphia Eagles versus the New York Giants. What are your thoughts on this game then, Scouse?
My thoughts, you got to think about, we obviously want Philly to do us a favor, but technically we don't need it, because we are still in within our own destiny, so, but we definitely need, what I want really is basically them to hammer each other. So they get so many injuries that they're out for not bad injuries, just out for a few weeks. That makes them worse for the next few weeks. That's all. That's what I want to see. I want to see old school smash mouth football. That's what I want to see as well. I want to see Hurts getting hit a few times as well. And I think you'll see that because of the Giants' blitz packages that they do, and they blitz a lot. I think they are number one in blitzes. How many times do you do it? I know Hurts is number one QB against the blitz. That's the other bit you got to think about. So you got to be kind of, okay. So, but you've got to get that balance right. But for me, you've got to get pressure on them. You've got to win. You've got to take it to them like we did. They've got to do the same blueprint as us. And the good news about it is that the Giants are very, very, like, man for man, they're enough that they are virtually our team. They run the same plays. They are a run first team. They have a quarterback who can run, even though we don't use our guy who can run. But they've got those type of things. So they've got that kind of, like, that same kind of mentality as such and style of play.
Yeah, well, we saw at the weekend, didn't we, that Daniel Jones can use his legs to aid their running game. I mean, 71 yards with a 5.9 average. I mean, we just could not contain him at all. And he'll go into that void thinking, yeah, I can probably do this against Philly as well. But Philly have got a really stout defense. I actually think they were a really complete team, throughout their entire roster. I think they're a very good side.
Yeah, they probably are the most complete squad.
And I mean, we've got a quick injury update here for the game. So we've got, looking at the Giants side of the ball, we've got Leonard Williams, who's the only real one that is any sort of starter level, that is out with a neck and did not practice. This is Wednesday's practice, by the way. And Kenny Golladay is back. He was at full participation with recovering from a back injury. And then on the
wide receiver, none.
Oh yeah, exactly. You've got more yards than him this year. And then from the Eagles side of the side, we've got Sean Bradley who's a special teams guy who did not practice, and limited practices were Quez Watkins and Kazir White. So they've not got a big injury list at all.
And as I say before, you mentioned that they are probably the most complete team, offense and defense, probably in the NFL, to be fair. And they've got no injuries. They say that they've got a couple of guys who've got a couple of knocks. Those guys are starters. All three of them guys starters for them. But it's still, yeah, they'll be available. They'll be available someday, no doubt about it.
I'm really looking forward to watching this game, actually, because we're not on. So, I mean, I won't watch the whole of this game. I'll just probably watch Red Zone and see what comes on, because as you may or may not know, I like to look at all of the NFL and see what's going on throughout the league. And obviously we want to go to San Francisco, not to Minnesota. So, but we'll wait and see what happens.
Well, it'd be nice. We need to get 6 seed, don't we? We need to get
We do need to get to that 6 seed.
To get that. I mean, from this game, though, I just can't see anybody else but a win for Philly, to be honest.
I can't either.
But I do hope, and I cross my fingers, that the Giants can win, purely because I can't stand the Philly fans. So Let's just go with that because we'll beat the Giants next time, man. They're gonna be battered and bruised, and we've got a nice week off, extra week of preparation. Scott Turner's normally good on actual game plays when he's got more time compared to when he's on a shorter week. So again, it's all good news for us personally. I think. So
I agree.
I want these guys to smash each other up. That's what I want to see.
Do you want to put a scoreline to it, Scouse, or are you not? You're going to go there.
Philly's game. Game. Oh, I mean, if the Giants do what I'm expecting them to do, it'll be tighter than you think. I'm going to say Philly wins 24. 24-19, I think.
I'm going to go 27-17, 10-point win for Philly. But yeah, I mean, we'll finish this pod off then with a couple of updates that we've got around the injuries and around a few other bits and pieces that have been going on in the Commanders' land at the minute. So we've now got a real, quite serious looking injury to Tyler Larson, dislocated kneecap by the looks of it. And it looks like he'll probably be on IR, getting a specialist opinion, and he'll be on IR for the rest of the season and out. Do you see the replacement centre being Nick Martin, or do you see possibly Wes Schweitzer moving back into the middle? Because we've now got 2 weeks to prepare for this. So I would like to see whoever is going to be the starting centre playing with Taylor, practicing even in the off week to try and make sure that they've got that timing down, because what we don't want to see is balls getting flown over the top of his head and
I think that's the problem with Schweitzer. Schweitzer was doing a lot of that, especially when Wentz was behind centre. It was above his head. It was at his knees. The guy's 6'5". Do you know what I mean? What are you doing, snapping the ball to the guy's feet? It's ridiculous. So for me, Martin is going to start. Martin will start, and it will depend on how bad Cosme is, because he's banged up as well. He rolled his ankle. He was out. Tez had a concussion, came out early in the game.
Yeah.
So these guys, I mean, you're hoping that they're going to be back. Same with St. Juiced as well.
Well, St. Goat was, as you call him. I was listening to John Kime today while I was at work, and he was saying that he's been skipping now, so it looks like he should be okay to go in the next 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good. We need him.
And the only other thing I've got from Washington social media was that we have named our Walter Payton Man of the Year nomination as Charles Leno Jr., and I think he fully deserves that for his community work. So fair play to him and his family, because he's always out doing bits for the community. So well played, sir.
Yeah, he does a lot with hog farmers as well, doesn't he?
He does, yeah, he does.
I only read on Twitter recently. I didn't know about that.
And shout out to the hog farmers as well while we're on the pod.
Sure.
And then the only other thing I saw was that there was something going on. Oh, it was Chase Young. That was the only other thing I saw. That on a couple of the podcasts there, they were saying that it's now all in Chase Young's mind about whether he's going to start again.
Take that with a pinch of salt a little bit.
Yeah, I know. It's not. It was the turf was an issue.
He needs to be hit on it really, and see how he reacts to it. Does it go again, or does it survive? And if it survives, that'll make Chase back to normal. He just needs that initial bang. How doesn't he react to it?
It is really serious. I mean, I did ACL, MCL, PCL in my knee playing rugby, and the first game back playing rugby, it was. You just think this first scrummage.
You're scared, of course.
How's it gonna react?
Is it gonna hold up? Have I done the right rehab? There's everything. All these things are in your mind, 100%. It's been such a long-term injury, and how violent this game can be. But for me, it's kind of like, you just need to get in there now and just go, look, get in there, have a couple of snaps. Hopefully, you don't get chop block, but you know what I mean. Just kind of like get a
feel for the game. Get a feel for the game.
Get a few tackles. Get some impact on it, and see how he goes with it. And once you realize that his knee's fine after it, then you'll start seeing him motoring.
Cool. Well, we'll wrap it up there then. Thanks very much again for everyone for listening. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Thanks for listening on the podcast on your podcast app of choice that you use. Shout out to the people who've been reaching out to us on social media, Alids, Egans, anyone else, Mike, who comments very, very, he comments loads on what the podcast's giving to him. If you have any comments or things that you'd like discussed on the pod, please reach out to us on social media. Our details will be in the outro. And just like to say thanks again, Scouse, for your time today, and have a lovely week off, mate.
Yeah, you do. Just enjoy Giants and Philly getting smashed up and mangled. That's what I want to see. Bring
exactly
that.
Bring all that right. On. Well, that's us. Thanks for another episode of the 1 Point Safety Show. Another one in the books. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you again next week.
Bye.